Hey guys, and welcome back to Unified Gaming. Now if this is your first time here, and you enjoy watching ESO gameplay, seeing new builds, or just want to get better at ESO itself, then start by subscribing now and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. Now today guys, I'm going to share with you my Magicka PvP Sorcerer build called The Apprentice. This is an easy to set up yet highly effective sorcerer that has a ridiculously powerful burst combination if you master it. Now it's aimed towards newer players due to the set selection that I've made, but it also works in Cyrodiil, both CP and no CP, and it can hold its own in a duel. Although I make it look easy to play, Magicka Sorcerer can be somewhat hard to master, and there is no exception with this build. But to help you out, I'm going to share with you a couple of combinations and some tips and tricks, and one of the burst combinations does anywhere from 15 to 28,000 burst damage within one move. Now because of this amount of burst, you will find that very few classes can react properly, as you simply take away most if not all of the health bar within a couple of buttons. Now this works incredibly well when you're fighting outnumbered or by yourself and you have to go defensive. You simply turtle up, get some resources back, and then put on a shield or two and turn around and land your combination. Once your shields are up, you can simply turn around, do your combination, and you will nuke the target, doing most if not all of their health within a couple of buttons. There are very few classes and specs that have access to this amount of burst on demand. Now to help you navigate the video, I've put in the top left an animation that will play around. Each section will highlight, showing you which section we are on, so you can skip to the part that is relevant for you. With that said, however, I would recommend watching the entire video as I go through in some detail kind of what I do skill wise, combo wise, gear wise, a few different variations, and just some general tips and tricks that will make your experience on the build so much better. As for the last section on the experience and tips and tricks, I'm going to put my controller on screen, show you the combination that I do at speed and then slowed down so you can copy it yourself and master that. If you have it mastered, you will find that you will one-shot most people, especially in battlegrounds. Now if you are new and you haven't subscribed yet, consider doing so by clicking the bottom right subscribe button. Now with that out of the way, we're going to jump into the build. Now for our race, we are a Breton. A Breton gives us max Magicka, spell resistance and Magicka recovery, and Magicka cost reduction. All in all, this works wonderful for no CP and battlegrounds. It also works well in Cyrodiil CP. You will be able to put on an extra spell damage glyph to help make up some of the lost damage. If you are a high elf, that would also work really well. A high elf is slightly better for CP Cyrodiil as you get more damage, but you will find that Magicka sustain is a little bit harder. If you don't have a Breton or a high elf, you could go as a dark elf. That's a very good sort of compromise. Alternatively, you could go as an Argonian or a Nord, but you will need to adjust your glyphs accordingly and know that your damage will be slightly lower than some of the other races listed already. So we are going to go through the skills now. Crystal Fragments, Haunting Curse, Rune Cage, Crushing Shock or False Pulse, Endless Fury, Power Overload. Back Bar, Dark Conversion, Hardened Ward, Dampen Magic, Boundless Storm, Critical Surge and Temporal Guard. These all have a specific job. Haunting Curse is a delayed burst, casts on a target and a few seconds later it blows up. Rune Cage is our ranged stun, has a really good stun, and it's a really good range, it can't be blocked, definitely worth having. Crushing Shock is a spammable, we can cast this quite cheaply. It also interrupts people doing stuff such as resurrecting, casting the Jesus beam from the Templar, so Radiant Oppression, and those kind of channeled skills. Endless Fury is our execute. This allows us to put it on a target, and if they take damage and fall below 20% health within 4 seconds of being hit by this ability, they then blow up for a lot of damage. And on top of that, it gives you extra Magicka back, so this morph is definitely worth running. We use Power Overload as our ultimate. It's really cheap. It converts our light attacks into energy balls and they hit really hard. So this is a really good ult. I find it more useful than Meteor in all honesty, and it can work really well in our combo as you'll see later on in the video. Crystal Frag is our extra sort of burst ability. We only cast this when it glows purple on the tooltip, on the actual icon itself, and our hands also glow as like an orangey colour. So when your hands glow orangey and this sort of skill is now purpley in colour, you then fire it. It becomes instant cast, and you can animation cancel by hitting the skill and tapping block. Back bar wise, Dark Conversion, That's just resources, converts stamina into magicka, really helpful, and it gives us a big heal. We use hardened ward and dampen magic as kind of pseudo burst heals. So almost treat them like breath of life as if you play a Templar, those kind of big heals. You can also put them on before the fight and have 2 really big heals, giving you a kind of an advantage at the start of the fight. And you can stack them too. So you can go shield 1 and shield 2, and both of them will stay on your body, which is really, really helpful, allowing you to put 2 big shields on and then go offensive to try and turn the fight in your favour. We use Boundless Storm as a movement buff, armour buff, and it does a little bit of damage to people nearby us. And that synergises really well with Critical Surge, which heals us. And as of Dragonhold, it also gives us Major Sorcery as well, which is our extra 20% damage buff. So definitely worth slotting. And Temporal Guard is just here because of the 8% damage reduction it gives us. You could change this to other ults in a moment. As for skills on the front bar, they stay pretty much the same, just a few things to note. Rune Cage has a really big range. It can't be blocked, but it can be dodge rolled. So just people can dodge roll out of it, so do factor that in, okay? Crushing Shot can be swapped if you don't like it. You could use the other morph, False Pulse, that has more damage. Alternatively, you can go down to the Sigic order, if you have it, and use Elemental Weapon, that has even more damage, but the drawback is that it is tied to the light attack, and if you have a bit of lag, it's hard to always get this to fire, so sort of it's hit and miss personally. I would keep the ultimate there. As for Power Overload, I personally think this is the best ult for this build and this playstyle, but you can change this to something like Meteor from the Mage Guild. Do note that with Overload, when you cast it, it's actually a toggle. So now that my hands are all lit up, it's still active on the back bar. So it will stay active on either bar once it's casted. To turn it off, I'll just cast it again, and it's now off. So on, still on, still on, still on, and still on. And now it's off. You can also animation cancel this, so push the skill, then hit block, and it does it instantly. So you can turn it on really fast and turn it off really fast. If you die in Battlegrounds, this does turn itself off automatically. So if I have it on, and then I die, when I come back alive, it will now be off. So just do factor that in. As for these skills in the back, they stay pretty much the same. A few changes you can make. You could swap Critical Surge out and run a Restoration Staff and use Radiating Regen or Rapid Regen, you pick whatever you prefer. And you could use Healing Ward if you want an extra shield that gives you a heal. Personally though, I think Critical Surge is better. If you went with the Restoration Staff choice, you could however use the Restoration Ultimate, which is really good, especially the Life Giver morph that gives you all of these skills casted and their respective morphs. As for the ultimate, if you don't have this ultimate, you could run Absorption Field. This will heal you, it will heal teammates, it will stun people nearby, it stops them using magic spells, so very helpful. You could swap this for the damage version, which does exactly the same stuff, but instead of healing you, it damages the enemy. You could use Greater Storm Atronach. This is a great ability, it stuns people that it lands on. It does damage to them and it stays in place for 28 seconds, and it means you can kind of sit on top of it and people end up hitting it and not you, so it's kind of a good body block or a meat shield almost. You could try and use the Vampire Bat Swarm if you prefer, as an extra damage buff. If you want to just have a passive buff where you don't actually have to maintain it, you could run Barrier from the support skill line and get Magicka Raid. This will give you 10% Magicka just by having this slotted on the back bar. Now for the armour in this video, we're going to go through and just list the one set this time rather than a few different options, because this setup is really easy and this is kind of what I would recommend running in all honesty, okay? Now, we are running Crafty Alfiq, Inferno Staff, Nirnhound. If you don't have Nirnhound, Sharpened would work just as well. Nirnhound is slightly better for your healing, Sharpened gives you slightly better damage. You want a Shock enchantment because we're trying to push our burst rather than our sustained damage. That's where a Berserker glyph, so a glyph that increases your spell damage, would be better. But Shock for burst, Berserker for sustained damage with dots. Crafty Alfiq, we want Sword and Shield. Now for the enchantments, the back bar can be poisons, enchantments up to you, but you want the sword to be defending ideally, you want the shield to be impenetrable. You want Max Magicka in the shield because it gives us a bigger Magicka pool that gives us bigger shields. We then want Bloodspawn for the monster set. You could swap Bloodspawns to any other defensive set, so you could have one Pirate Skeleton, or one Lord Warden, or one Mighty Tudor, any combination of those. We then have Shacklebreaker, which is a crafted set. This is easy to get hold of. Most guilds have crafters that will craft stuff for you, so just message them and they'll make it. It's really cheap, and it's probably one of the best setups you can get for Battlegrounds and for starting kind of any sort of a new character in PvP. We have gone full impenetrable on every piece of armour here. This reduces our critical damage, making us a bit tankier, so it's definitely worth having if you're new. And then I've gone tri-stat, so prismatic on the head, the chest and the legs. Max Magicka on all the small pieces, so shoulders, waist, hands and feet. And for the jewellery, we've just gone Alfique, Alfique and Alfique to finish our 5 Alfique. And we've left the arcane as they are because the sorcerer scales really well with Max Magicka. And we've gone with all triple regen. You could go with 1 spell damage if you go into Cyrodiil, and that's with CP. As you get more and more experience on the build, you can then change these to more spell damage, but do fact that your sustain will be worse and you will find it harder to sort of recover from bad situations. That's kind of the gear that I would run. If you don't have Shacklebreak or you don't have anybody who could craft it, you could swap this for Wizard's Riposte. But as I said, this is what I would run. It's kind of the sort of best starter round build that you could have for a sorcerer. As for our consumables, I use tri-stat potions. Alternatively, you could use Essence of Immovability. They are made with bug loss, wormwood and mountain flower, I believe, but double check because I'm not 100% sure off the top of my head. They will give you max health, max magicka, and it will give you CC immunity if you make those potions. As for the food, we are using tri-stat food. Tri-stat food is probably the best food you can get for sort of a Magicka character because you need the stamina pool. Without the stamina pool, you generally die, especially in Battlegrounds. Now for our Munderstone, we have gone with the Mage. We are pushing our Max Magicka, sorry. The bigger our Max Magicka is, the bigger our shields are, the tankier we are as a result. Sorcerer also scales really well with Max Magicka damage-wise, so it's definitely worth pushing Max Magicka on this build. You can be a vampire if you prefer, and if you want. I personally go as a vampire, and I would recommend it. Yes, you will take extra damage from fire attacks, but you'll get access to Undeath, which will reduce our damage taken, and you get access to more Magicka recovery, which then allows you to run an extra spell damage on our jewellery, giving you more damage overall. Do note, however, that if you go as a vampire, you take more fire damage, and you will take more damage for being a vampire from things from the Fighters Guild. So Dawnbreaker will hit you harder, so will Silver Leash and Trap Beach. So just do factor that Dawnbreaker and these kind of fighter guilds will hit you harder as a vampire. But personally, I think the sort of positives are worth it. The only sort of downside is that Magicka DKs are really hard to fight as a vampire. So that's a kind of a personal choice. I've run it with and without. I found that with it is better, but that's kind of up to you. Now if you want to take this into CP, as I said, there are CP options. I've taken this into CP myself, and this is what I run in CP. So I'm going to go through this. Feel free to pause the video where you want. I have min-maxed this as with most of my CP builds. In case you're unsure, 46 is the jump point for spell erosion when you have full light armor, so this will give you 13% penetration overall. So yeah, pause this where you see fit. You will find that a lot of my damage reduction is coming from the CP itself, and then our sustain comes from the CPE, and we focus particularly in blocking as well as a little bit of roll dodge to make it a bit easier to sort of move around the battlefield and get out of trouble if needed. Now in this section I'm going to go through it and give you some skills, tips and so on, and I'm going to share kind of what I do PvP wise combos. Now I'm going to share with you the combo that I push. As you'll see in the bottom left of my screen is my controller. So this is what you want to do at the start of the fight. At the moment you want to be really far away and you want to push your power surge or crit surge. That will give you your major sorcery, armor buff, activate your overload if it's ready, okay? Once buffed you go Haunting Curse, Rune Cage, frag if it's ready, overload, major buff, force cancel, crush and shock. Once more but slowed down. Once buffed you go Haunting Curse, Rune Cage, frag if it's ready, overload, major buff, force cancel, crush and shock. So you buff up like usual. Haunting Curse, Mage's Wrath this time, Rune Cage, Frag, Light Attack Overload block, Crush, and then roll dodge if Frag is ready again. Once more but slowed down. So you buff up like usual. Haunting Curse, Mage's Wrath this time, Rune Cage, Frag, Light Attack Overload block, Crush, and then roll dodge if Frag is ready again. So in this clip we're going to do a little kind of commentary. So I'm just running up, we get to a flag, I see some greens coming up, so I go to land my combo on one of them. Start with obviously the Curse into Wrath, Rune Cage. The first one starts rolling about, so I then try the second one. Manage to land most of it on him, he then dies. I go for the sniper who was rolling last time, land part of it on him, but then he obviously dodges a few attacks. I'm getting attacked from behind with the bow ult, so I just streak away. As you obviously saw, you can obviously use streak if you want instead of crit surge. Run back up into the fight, see this person up here, so I do my combo, 17k health, and he just blows up. I go back to the middle, go to cap the flag with my teammates, got 2 kills so far. Green comes up, he's a Nightblade, so I hold block, knowing that he can't stun me if I hold block. I then go for his Bowcake friend, do the combo. He roll dodges sadly, which you do get now and again. But due to obviously how hard Overload hits, even if they kind of dodge the first one, the next one hits really hard, as you see. Green's down there, he pops down, so I go down to try and chase him. He's gone away, land part of it, go up to catch the flag because we're playing the objective. Sit on this flag for a while, speed the gameplay up, as you can see. Start getting sniped, so try my Haunting Curse. That always pulls Nightblades out of stealth, so that's the thing you always want to start with, because if they go and cloak, it'll pop them out of stealth. I'm not going to play around with him because that's just annoying. So I sit on the flag, try to get the game mode, go for the combo here. He reacts somewhat badly, but because he's a Dragonite with wings up, he takes like 50% less damage on our combo, which is really frustrating. And he's quite tanky on the whole. So we put our Overload on to get a bit more damage. Get stunned, so I go for a couple dark conversions in a moment, but I see that he's relatively low, so I'm going to go for my combo. I land part of it, but again that 50% damage reduction from wings really is noticeable there. The wings go off and then we just blow them up. I've got so many reds on me, so I just streak away. That's where streak is better than crit surge, because you can obviously escape if you need to. Move up the hill, reposition. I know I'm low on resources, so it's pointless going into the fight. I then go cap another flag whilst we're waiting. As obviously a sorcerer, you have access to streak and also Band of Storm. Go back into the middle, see someone try to steal it. It's that DK again. He's got his wings off, so we hit him really hard for the combo. The reds then come up, so I go to land on the Templar healer. He's got the Templar bubble at the moment. So you can't obviously fight him because it's just really, really horrible and it just locks you in place. Our teammate leaps him, so I then try to eliminate the Templar before he goes into his ultimate. Pick out the squishy person, go for him. But they've got a Templar spam heals for the rest of the team, so focus the healer. And obviously when you play on this kind of build, because you have so much burst, it's always good to hit the healer first, because you're like one of the only classes that can actually damage healer properly, because it's burst, they can't heal through burst. Try to land the combo, but I go a bit too far off and fall off the edge here. Go up the top to help finish him off. I jump up to go frag block to land it on there, but obviously he died by that point. Streak back to the middle, see some people over there, can't target them, so this guy down here, go to land the combo, 21k health, and he blows up. Go for the next person here, do quite a bit of damage to him, he streaks off, leave him. Person on the left tries to stun me, so I go for my combo, and his health almost goes instantly, so I think he kind of realised, yeah, perhaps don't throw the spear at me. And then obviously just spam my shields, I'm getting spammed with Mage's Wrath by somebody else, so just try and keep my shields on so I don't get low. Go for the cheeky Overload into frag, that hits really hard as a combination, as you can see, he's dead. Go for a couple dark conversions for the heal, see this person down here, start the combination again. Unfortunately fall down and get kind of stuck, so I didn't get it all off fully, but thankfully Mage's Wrath lays on, so Mage's Wrath stays on the person for 4 seconds. Go up here, see a couple greens and reds fighting, so try and get a couple cheeky kills. Managed to hit one really hard, start to focus the other one, so that way both of them are low, so they're kind of being focused by the other person, because if I took out the reds, then the greens will focus on me straight away. Green hit with Draining Shot, which is really frustrating this patch. Getting hit with the Toxic Barrage, so you can just line of sight it, so move out of the way, put your shields on, block if needed, it's a bit like Soul Assault. Go for the Execute because he didn't heal. move around again, keeping that line of sight. Go for the light attack into frag combos. You see that hits really hard there. Is that same DK again, who has the wings. He's really tanky, as you can see. And there he is. That's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, like, comment, subscribe. And with that, take care, guys. We'll catch you next one. Thanks for watching. Bye.